Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul podcast, where I am your host, Dr. Michelle Bolden Hammond. And listen, I am ecstatic. I am so happy here to bring a childhood friend, and her sister is my other sister from a mister, but I am so glad to bring an electoral candidate that is going to be running for a Maryland District 37, Katie Clendaniel. Woohoo! Welcome, Katie. Welcome. Look, when I heard the news a couple weeks back, I was like, yes, let's get her on here.
Yes, I am so excited. So I'm running for Maryland State Senate District 37, and that is quite a big area. It is all of Talbot, all of Dorchester, part of Caroline, and part of Wycomico. Okay. So we got a big, very diverse district to cover.
Big, talking about it. But, your work is outstanding. In the audience, you will get to hear about some of her work. One of the things I do know, as being in the community myself, you have brought a lot to community and connection. So the first question, because I love your grassroots type of your theme, you got to be rooted in something. You got to start from scratch. And that's what a lot of people try to take the easy way out. But what does being rooted in this community look like for you beyond campaigning? And how have you lived your experience, and how has it shaped your priorities?
That is a great question. I think, we throw the word community around a lot, and it can mean different things to different people in different contexts. So being rooted in the community for me is just absolutely being inescapably connected everywhere that you go. And having grown up here, I resented this a little bit when I was a kid, but you couldn't go anywhere or do anything without your mom and dad finding out or your family finding out. And, when you're young, you want to get away from that. You want to be yourself, figure out who you are. But being back home, when I came back home, I found that actually it was really heartwarming to feel connected to everybody. And I would say that the greatest thing I ever inherited from my parents was their fabulous reputation. And, same thing for my sister, Gina. She was class president in Easton. Everybody knew her. Everybody liked them. They're people that really care about other people. And that was definitely something that I learned was how to be that way myself, and what that really means in a place like this is really putting other people before yourself. So for me, being rooted in community means all of those things. I am invested in what happens here, and understanding our past too, and where we came from. And we've faced a lot of challenges, and some of those challenges haven't really ever gone away. They're still there. We're still grappling with them. And, some of us can't pick up and leave, right? So we got to work with what we got, and we got to make what we got better. So rooted in community, that's what that looks like for me. Can't get rid of me. So that's, how's that shaped my priorities? I think, my priorities for us, having worked here, having lived here, I can't ever walk away from the things that need to be done. I left after high school, and for me, our community and our makeup and what we were always followed me. And I remember I had to do a year-long research project, and I was like, I really want to study Cambridge. And why is Cambridge the way that it is? And, I didn't end up doing that. It was too far away, but that was something that always, was something I wanted to figure out. I wanted to figure out who we were and why we were the way that we were. So that has not gone away. It's not specific to Cambridge anymore. It's more about us as a region. So that's how it shaped my priorities. So my whole life kind of shifted because of that. And I came home and got to work.
I know, because I'm telling you, when you came back home, I was like, man, she in this community, Delmarva Community Service. She went there. You just took it. You just did. You brought people together. And as you said, there's always the stories of Cambridge, right? There we've been brought up, about it. But, the impact that Cambridge had, a lot of people don't really realize. And I love the fact that you brought out about, we try to forget some of the things from the past, right? One of the things that a lot of people don't realize that Cambridge actually on the Eastern Shore was a big, thriving place, down to clothing. People would come from all around for get clothing. Things would be coming to, through the ships and different things being shipped here. A lot of people don't realize that. And it has a whole lot, now we talk about, you hear a lot about Harriet Tubman. I'm telling you, we were never taught that type of stuff in school. Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
We heard about her.
But how did we not, we heard about her, but we didn't know that this was just exactly where she, where she.
Same thing for Douglas. Same thing.
Same thing. We, and what's so funny about it, Katie, I will tell you that the place my parents, my father and my mother worked at White House. My father worked at White House for 41 years. I played there as a child in this mansion that used to hold slaves, right? I had no idea, not until later on, until I got in my late 30s, that this is where Frederick Douglass was. Nobody never told us. My dad was in the Hidden Treasures book of the Hidden Treasures of the World Geographic book. He was in the special because he was the butler there. Like I tell people all the time, Oprah stole that thing from my dad because my dad was actually a butler at this place. I grew up there. Nobody never told us that. I was playing on the same place where this man was. Nobody never told us that until later on. So I love the fact that you want to bring that connection. And, the next thing I want to talk about is your vision and your impact, because I know, like we said, you have done a lot of work within the community. You have done a lot of outreach. Now, if elected, what are going to be your top priorities for the Senate seat, and how will your leadership create this real lasting impact for the people that you're going to serve? Because you're going to get there. I know you are.
We got to. Well, I put together a little list. And, we got a lot to do. And so I'll just get started. So if you don't mind, I wrote down some notes.
That's fine.
And
hey, this is your knowledge. This is your knowledge. This is your dropping notes.
Yes. Well, I think there's a lot to cover. We're a rural community, but we are also growing, and we're facing some very unique to us challenges. And in Maryland, what we have is a bit of like urban rural divide. So there are areas that we want to preserve, that we want to help protect. And at the same time, there's other areas that we desperately need to address. I'm going to tell you this. I had a conversation with someone who works regionally with economic development, and that person said, man, it'd be really nice to have someone elected who actually wanted to focus on the problems.
Yeah.
So for me, I am focused on the issue. Okay. And you can never lose sight of that. So how we address that is, sometimes you have to push back, and sometimes you have to, work and develop really strong, trusting relationships with the folks that are, the decision makers. But some areas for top priorities for me, My key areas, which people can find on my website, are economic development. So economic development on the Eastern Shore touches a lot of different things. And on the Eastern Shore, we're very dependent on agriculture. That's a very key area. Small businesses are a huge economic development engine. We don't necessarily have the types of businesses and business makeup that exist over across the bridge, but a lot of our economic development tools developed at the state level are really for bigger business that we don't necessarily get. We would love to get that business, but it's a really hard sell to bring them down here and get them established, just because we're not as close to the supply chain and the interstates like Route 95. So supporting small businesses, and they're the backbone. A lot of our folks are starting small business so that they can earn income, be independent and develop wealth within their life. And I see that across the spectrum in every community that I go to. I see entrepreneurship. So we want to strengthen our existing businesses, and we want to help them expand. We want to help startup businesses, and there are programs that help with that. But what I see specifically is a disconnect between the business owner and those programs. One thing that Rural Maryland Council has shepherded through, I believe it passed this year, was helping rural communities build capacity to bridge that gap. And that was an area that I worked specifically in, helping to support small businesses and help that economic engine and, socioeconomically, disadvantaged communities. We want to strengthen existing funding for community development and also build on those funding sources. So I'm talking about programs like Community Legacy, Smart Growth and Strategic Demolition Fund. And for many years, I watched those funds dwindle or get robbed for other programs. I've seen other regions develop their own dedicated fund for community development. And there are 9 counties on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. We are like a third of the state. And we get something like 17% of that funding, which is already, just $8 or $10 million each. That's not a lot of money.
No.
And we have expansive need. So for me, really supporting community development and incentivizing projects, some of these projects don't happen unless you have that funding support. And a lot of them are able to leverage private funding and private investment. So what we see with community development is if you plant the seed with that public funding, it'll expand from there and leverage a lot of other funding behind it. So I would also really love to tackle for our fisheries, the aquaculture permitting process, I have heard, is extremely lengthy. It can take 5 or 6 years just to sell your permit to another buyer. And I have heard to get a permit, it's also a similar timeline. And if we want to support our, watermen and aquaculture industries and transition into the future, I think this is something we need to look at. What are the holdups and what are the problems? So I would like to tackle that. Healthcare is another huge gap on the Eastern Shore. So I am hearing from a lot of folks, they are going over the bridge for specialist service. They can't get an appointment here with our current healthcare providers, specifically with the specialist care like ear, nose, and throat, or, I know the Women's Center closed years ago. So we are not able to get appointments with doctor offices here. And it's become a real issue. I know that Tidal Health in Salisbury is working on a program to train rural doctors here, which we hope will encourage people to stay once they get trained and work within the field on, across the region. I want to look into how we can strengthen and support that, and then also bridge the gap maybe up here on the more northern counties. And then let's see what else I have on my list. So Part of my background, Michelle, is I'm trained as an anthropologist. And that was part of my early years coming back to the shore, diving deep on heritage, history, and the environment. And those things all really intersect here. So we learned that, 10, 12 years ago, beyond that, we know that we are one of the most vulnerable regions along the Atlantic coast to flooding and to storms. And I don't see us really thinking out ahead of how we're going to protect ourselves when the next storm comes.
Right.
And flooding right now, nuisance flooding is on the rise, literally.
It is.
And communities like Cambridge, and I'm hearing about Oxford having trouble as well. Those are real issues that are impacting us. And so those are areas that I would specifically like to really grab the bull by the horns and take on. And I think it's necessary. And I really think we have to work regionally on those types of problems. They're not just a county issue here or here. Those are issues that are going to, it's going to affect the whole state of Maryland.
It really is. And, you bring up one key that leads me to the next question. When you face with opposition, because, policies and, that's why we need you in the seat, because we know policy, you're a good policy maker, a good changer, right? When faced with opposition or systemic barriers, how do you stay committed to delivering the results for the people?
Never give up.
There we go.
I think I heard Nancy Pelosi say once, I don't know her personally, but I heard she was a great negotiator. She just stuck with it, right? And we know in the process in Annapolis, we don't always get things through the first time, and there may be hangups, right? Or someone has hesitation, or you don't have time to deal with it. So sometimes things might come around a couple different years. But you just have to keep at it, and you have to make your argument. You have to explain why, and then you have to address the concerns of the opposition, because people have legitimate concerns, right? We have legitimate concerns about how things affect us. It may work really well in this one place, but not for the whole state, right? So, I'm always focused on the problem and how to solve the problem. And I've been able to do that on a number of different projects. But you've got to be able to listen. You've got to be able to listen, take seriously, understand, and then find the common ground, right?
That's true. So look, we're going to take a quick break, and I have something for the audience to see. And, I'm kind of upbeat. They know I'm kind of upbeat, but just to see what her characteristics is, I got something for you to see. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, 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 ride. Hey, hey, we ride. We move. Community strong, got something to prove. Hey, hey, see, hey, hey, let's go. She stands tall, listening close every time we call. Boots on the ground, she knows our name. Not just talking, she's changing the game. Neighbors to neighbors, she builds that trust. Putting in work because she...
All right. There you go. You have it here, Katie Clendaniel.
You're in charge of all the music going forward.
That's your campaign song?
It's gonna be. Yep.
Song? Okay, all right. See, that's what I like. Vision, impact. I love it. So, we're gonna move on to this, because when you're talking about legacy, legacy is very important. So, what legacy, when you get the seat, I'm gonna talk in existence. When you get the seat, what legacy do you want to leave behind in this community, and how does that reflect being both rooted and results driven?
Well, I probably have two answers to this question. Number one, I'm going to say that legacy for me is leaving behind a name that my family and my daughter can be proud of. Like I said, that's like the number one thing that my family gave me was a wonderful legacy, so walking in the door, people are just like, oh, I loved your mom, or, Katie's doing a great job. Everything that I'm doing now, I always want to make my family proud and my friends. And, I want everybody to be proud of the work that we do together. Yeah. And then secondly, I think legacy, I look at what, just from a legislative representative standpoint, I think about all the wonderful representatives that we've had over the years, and, getting something done for your community that you can point to, that people can point to and say, Fred Malkus did this, Norm Conway did this, Addie did this for me. It's the relationships and the trust that you build by doing what you say you're going to do and working for people. That's the legacy that I want to leave,
That's a wonderful legacy to do. You've already captured. You've already done and captured it. Again, I want to say thank you for taking the time out, for coming here, dropping by Upfront Mind, Body, Soul tonight. And whatever I can do, whatever I can do here, even after when the voting and all this go on, I'm here to celebrate you. I'm here for you. I'm just glad to be. Look, I'm part of the family anyway. So
you are. I was so happy when you messaged me. I was like, yes. This is what we need.
I think even when Jeannie was in office, and I was thankful for her because it was through her. And I do a lot of community work too, even though sometimes people try to butt it, but I'm like you. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to do it with your help or without your help, because that's why I have a passion for community. But that's one thing that, knowing her, and she's seen the work that she put, her and Governor Hogan were really good friends, and she put the word in, and that's how I became on the Maryland Health Commissions. So I'm thankful, and that's why I say I see your work. People still see your work, and you're going to keep doing the work, and whatever I can do to help you keep doing the work, because I put it this way. I know I might get a little obnoxious with this, but when Aaron got tired, he had somebody raise his hands up. So I know it can be tiring working in the community, but you got to keep going. As you said, you don't give up. If the opposition comes, you still keep it going. So the last question that I have for you, because I love your theme, because you got to be rooted in something. A lot of people don't realize that, the seeds that you planted, and the seeds that your mother, your father planted, your sisters planted, you've been rooted. Like you said, you've been rooted. You've been embodied with this. So in one sentence, how do you embody rooted in our community, driven by results in your daily work?
On a daily basis, I would say you just take one more step forward. So when I was doing a million things and trying to move a million projects forward, like I am now, at work, at home, you just do one thing to move forward, move the dial forward. And so that's how I embody it every single day, because it's just the baby steps that get you there, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not 20 steps. It's like that one step, and then you take the next step, and then you take the next step.
Right.
So
I greatly appreciate you. So Katie, is there any other things that you have? I know you got a lot of calendars and stuff going on, but I also want the audience to know you want to contribute to the campaign. Yes. Also, you can, if you want to reach out to her, I love it that you can reach out to her, give her your concerns, because again, if you don't know, you got to go to the source, and she will be the source to answer and address the questions that you may need, that you want the issues to be had. So there is her information. But also, Katie, can you tell of any events that'll be coming up?
Yeah, we are working on a few events in May that are meet and greet. We're working on one in St. Michael's, and I will post that to the social media and website as soon as I have a date. We're also working on one in Caroline County for those folks up in Caroline County, and we're working on one also in Cambridge coming up. So we're going to be out meeting, talking to people, and this is a great opportunity to share your viewpoint, because this is not all about Katie's vision, right? This is about our vision for our community, and we need to hear from people, and we desperately need folks to get engaged with elections and who's running for office and who we are choosing to represent us in Annapolis and anywhere else in the county, in the state, in the federal government. You know, I think we're all seeing how we need to pay more attention to what's going on. And I'm learning a lot too from this process. Money in politics is a thing. So as a first-time candidate, I am learning this. Have not really ever been a part of the political machine except to go and advocate for projects that I was working on. And no matter what, you have to work with whoever's there. And but in this case, I think we have a lot of reflecting to do as a community about what's really important to us and understanding how all these things are affecting us, no matter what party you're in, where you live, what industry you work in. You know, we need elected officials who are going to listen and who are going to represent all voters, not just particular groups and interests. You know, we need people in office who are going to do the right thing despite, who their donor is, who's funding their campaign. And I'm not speaking specifically about my particular race, but just about the whole process in general. And that was one reason I wanted to run, because I just wanted to see, it doesn't have to be me, but I wanted to see somebody who really wanted to tackle the issues for people who don't have a voice necessarily, So to do that, we've got to pay attention to what's going on. Especially in the primaries. The primaries are shaping who goes on the ballot at the end of the year. And this is really shaping our country to a great extent. So I have a website, people can go read about me. Please call me, please email. I will talk to you. I'll come to your house. It's all about the conversations that we have one-on-one. And I'm a big believer in that. So did that help? Too much?
That is wonderful. So again, I want to say, everyone, as she said, she's for the people. I can tell you, I've been with the family for 30 plus, over 30. Oh my God, 40 some years. Oh my goodness. Ooh. But good peoples. Again, electoral candidate Katie Clendaniel from Maryland, District 37. She is here. She's here to address your questions, and we're gonna root all the way to the seat.
We can
all
do
the
it.
way to the seat. All right. So everyone, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight to the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. And my motto is every week when I leave out, if you don't feel that you are loved, know that you are loved here at the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Bolden Hammond. Until next week, be blessed.